Look at that beat. I'm Jim Check. You're watching Kelowna Now. With me, Kent Mulgat, sitting in for the vacationing Ian Burns.
And you're calling this show
It's a
the
really big
really big
show,
show.
like Ed Sullivan. It's a
Now,
like an ode to Ed Sullivan.
all right.
The really big show. Kicking it off, really big news. Obviously, Chrystia Freeland resigns this morning. She put her notice out on X, and she said basically that she was asked to take a different position, a cabinet shuffle on Friday. She said, I'm not going to take a different job. I'm going to resign. She still is going to hold her seat and says she's going to run in the next election.
For all this to be happening, when today was the day for her fall economic
That's
statement,
weird, right? Like it's completely
is
weird.
pretty big show material.
Yeah, for Justin Trudeau to ask her to take a different job, but then read the budget seems
Right.
like a big ask.
But you could hear, I mean, over the last week or so leading up to this, it, it was publicly known that they were at
There's a lot of
odds.
rumors. There's a lot of rumors out
Well,
there for
yeah,
sure.
and she was angling to uh, end up with a deficit that she promised we would not see.
Yeah, and I think she really took a shot at the GST here. Like you can go ahead and read her statement, but and she just said, like we need to take the threat extremely seriously. She's talking about the tariffs. That means keeping our fiscal powder dry today, so we have reserves that we need for the coming tariff war. That means eschewing costly political gimmicks, which we can ill afford and which make Canadians doubt that we recognize the gravity of the moment. So that's definitely a shot at the
Right.
GST thing, which even the Senate has said really makes no benefit to Canadians other than it's a political gesture.
Right.
And
So a
and
little, it was a little meant to be a little something under the
a
tree.
little, yeah, but she left with a bit of a smack there too, and she even
Yeah.
acknowledges that this government is going to fall in her statement there.
Right.
So
So I don't know what you got me here for, Jim, but is analysis okay at
yeah,
this
yeah,
point?
for sure. Absolutely, this is what you're here for.
Because it seems to me that I mean, you could see that they were truly at odds about the circumstances in front of them. But also then you look at the strategy of it. I think we can all see that things are not going well for Trudeau. There's been other lesser known members that have left.
Yeah.
Sean Fraser
Sean
gone
Fraser
as
just
well,
the day before.
right?
Again, good friend of Freeland
Right.
and maybe supportive. Who knows? But he says he's not going to run at all.
No one is envisioning a Trudeau run Liberal government winning the next election. So Chrystia Freeland is one of his stars. She looks at her future and simply strategically, even if they didn't really disagree, it kind of does her well to get some distance between herself and Trudeau.
And it sounds like, and these are the rumors that are out there as well, that Mark Carney is going to be put in as the finance minister. But it's never been done in Canadian history that you have a finance minister that is not an MP. That would be history in the making as well.
You can have a. I've seen cabinet ministers that aren't an MP, but never a finance minister.
Never.
Interesting.
So, colleague of yours, former colleague of yours, Evan Solomon, he's put out this tweet, and he said, "A massive moment as Friedland quits cabinet and writes an explosive letter dismissing liberal policies as costly political gimmicks, which we can ill afford." A devastating comment, and that's from previous colleague of yours.
Right. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, and then James Moore writes all this, but Jagmeet Singh still has confidence in the PM. If he doesn't abandon government today, there are no words to describe that. So a lot of attention is going to be on Jagmeet Singh, I think, right now, because if the finance minister, Sean Fraser, and if Jagmeet Singh continues to support him, it would be kind of weird.
I mean, look, for him, it's going to be a strategic decision. You know, I don't think he could be judged for not jumping on him in this moment. He's going to choose what he thinks is the right timing for him.
Dan Elbis has been active as well. Dan Elbis putting out all within weeks of Trudeau calling Kamala Harris's Democratic presidential defeat as an attack on women's progress, and the total arrogance and lack of self-awareness is staggering when he basically fires her on Friday as the finance minister, but says, "Hey, you can still read the
Right.
budget." That seems to be very
Election now.
insensitive, right?
Election now is the
The other one
conservative
that he put out too, Dan Elbis did put out one like election now.
election. That seems to be the catchphrase right now. Yeah.
It's trending for sure. And then Sean Fraser also had said that he
You
considers.
interviewed Sean Fraser.
I did. He's a great guy. I mean, I shouldn't say great. A great interview. He's very articulate,
He's one
and
of those guys that when you talk
he's a
to him
lawyer.
about his portfolio, he knows his stuff.
Yeah, I asked him some tough questions, and he had good responses. Maybe some responses most Canadians may not agree with, or some, but
Yeah.
but still,
Again,
he knew what he was talking about.
These are some of the most talented members of Trudeau's cabinet, and they want to get some distance between themselves and
Well, he says he's not even going to run.
right. Well, but look how young he is. I mean, I don't know, but I'm guessing he's a young guy. He's got a political future, and so distance.
Yeah, and then just in talking about government, another government falls in Germany. We've seen France's, they've got a vote of no confidence, and now in Germany, German Chancellor Olaf Scholz lost the confidence vote, clearing the way for a February election. And that's what everybody's talking about here. They want a vote of no confidence in Canada, so that's what that election now is all about. And
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, your finance minister,
that's
that
a
is
big one.
key
That's a big one for
to a
sure.
government.
Deputy Prime Minister, let's not forget you, not just
Yeah.
finance minister. Her second role was Deputy Prime Minister, which is second in charge. It's like when you're on the bridge, it's number one and number two.
Yeah. I wish I really, it's one of those times where like, what's going to happen next? I honestly can't even imagine it. What is next?
You know, when Boris Johnson left, right, there was 50 resignations. 50.
Yeah.
So it sounds like there's rumors out there right now that say 2 more Liberal MPs from cabinet will resign today. There's rumors out there. It's all over X, and so we shall see.
Yeah.
And Kent's been down this rabbit hole today.
What?
Drone sightings
Me
spread
and the
across the
rabbit hole.
East Coast. Federal officials still don't have much to say. There was Mayorkas and Karine Jean-Pierre talking about it, but there's no solid answers. But you said you were watching some stuff there.
Okay.
And,
Here in this downward spiral with how people get their information these days, I regret to admit that tons of people just see what's Joe Rogan saying about it, right? And here we've got Joe Rogan who sees some guy from Wichita saying all sorts of stuff about nuclear weapons, which he calls
You showed me that, and I couldn't watch it for longer than 30 seconds without saying I can't listen to this guy.
right. I mean, I don't want to call anyone a nut bar, but Joe Rogan just gets someone off TikTok and tells all of his followers, I'm worried about this. And now you got tons of people all across, Joe Rogan's universe that are freaked out right now that there's some sort of nuclear weapons element to this drone frenzy, which
But-
I don't think is real.
There's a lot of stuff out there on different social media platforms all over the place on this drone stuff, and a lot of it is fake stuff too, because I watched one and it showed all these lights coming in, and then someone said that's just fast like a time lapse of JFK, just planes coming in, right?
Yeah.
So somebody, like obviously is just playing games. I don't know the answer to this. You'd think the American military could figure it out though, so I don't know. Maybe they're not saying. I don't know.
Is it? I don't know.
They have radar and they have all kinds of stuff, right? They can track where that thing goes. Like they can get a picture of somebody's house. Do you know what I mean? Like in Afghanistan, they get a guy's house so they can basically probably track that drone from its origin. They, there's no way that.
Is there a chance that there's nothing going on beyond what would be the normal air traffic in that area, and it's just everyone's looking up for the first time and they see things and
Could be
they're freaking out?
Walmart. Could be Walmart and Amazon testing their drone delivery systems. Could be as simple as that.
Yeah.
Right. Let's not go to aliens and nuclear warheads yet. Right.
No. Aliens? I don't know.
Well, there's one out there saying that there's a wreckage and aliens are going to Area 51.
Oh.
So maybe just stay out of that rabbit hole for a bit and see what develops, right? Like, I don't know. But they're not putting a lot of cold water, which is the weird part. Mayorkas stands up there. He's like, we don't know.
You've got legitimate people saying we want answers, which suggests that there's questions, and I don't know if there really are questions.
And here we go, Canada Post, forced back to work.
Yeah, I try to make a point of avoiding the news all weekend long, but
There you
boy, the news was, finally, you might get that letter back from Santa.
Forced back to work, and again, I think that's another line in the sand that Jagmeet said. If they force him back to work, that'll be the end of his
It's a moving
support for the
line.
government. That line is quickly evaporating line, I think. Like, we'll see. If this is another one he said. He put the line in the sand.
Yeah.
And you know what? They need to find a solution for sure. And I think arbitration makes sense because they seem to be so far apart on
Right.
this, so far apart. And the business model is not really healthy either. So they need to find a solution. Canada Post, storied company, and and it does deliver to areas that nobody else would even consider delivering to,
Yeah.
and they still deliver mail cheaply. Like a lot of people right now, even sending a business, like trying to send your check, like a check to another company, like say in Calgary or something, is $60 versus whatever stamp is,
Yeah.
like like a buck and a half, buck
It-
whatever, right? Like
It did cause me to think as I was driving in this morning, how much I don't rely on Canada Post as much as I did 30 years ago.
I think a lot of seniors still really depend on Canada Post, and I think a lot of businesses still for their payments between each other. Like there's a lot of, like we get a lot of business mail here at the company. I don't like we don't check our mailbox, our super
Yeah.
box, like once a month. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like we don't check that a lot.
Most of the things that I still receive in the mail are things I look at and I say, we really should just get the email version of this, right? And I haven't.
Thanks for all the flyers.
I haven't done that with all of those things yet.
Yeah.
But I mean, it gets to the point where there is very little that we
Yeah,
depend
mostly flyers are coming in for our personal, for us anyway.
Yeah.
And then this is more the state of the economy, I think. Thieves get a taste of cheese and butter. There's always seem to they focus on certain things, right? But butter's expensive. Butter's like $7 a brick now. Cheese, especially specialty cheeses, that are like they stole a bunch of cheese, and there's a black market for this stuff on Facebook Marketplace now. They're selling butter and
on. Really?
cheese. And
You can buy
there's-
stolen cheese that you know is stolen?
well, I don't know if you know it's stolen, but like holiday season, what is the best thing? You have people over. What do you put out? A charcuterie tray, no? And what's in
Yeah.
there? Meat and cheese, right? And cheese, like some of this cheese you're sewing in this wagon here. It's going to be that's probably $50, that one cheese sitting there on the top there, right?
Right.
Do you know what I mean? So, and the people are all looking for ways to, they still want to entertain. They're looking ways to save money, and like just
Fun fact, Jim, about cheese.
Yeah.
There is a deli that I will not name in Kelowna that people enjoy going to. And they don't know that beneath the deli is a basement that is bigger than the deli itself and packed full of wheels and wheels
so
and
they're a
wheels.
cheese factory.
They're like a cheese
Nice.
kind of broker. And there is like, I wouldn't want to.
Why don't we want to name it?
Hmm?
Why don't we want to
Because
name
I
it?
don't think they want
People that know.
cheese thieves to know that there,
Oh, yeah.
there is a
But what if a cheese
huge-
buyer wants to know?
Well, I think the cheese buyers do know.
I don't.
Right? It's a cheese secret.
There you go. Cheesy. That sounds cheesy. And this is the king of cheese. He's the fondue king. Ken Mulgat every Friday, no?
Well, no,
in the summer, right?
It's no. It's kind of a February thing.
February.
Fondue Friday at
There
a
you
certain winery.
There you go. And then free fondue Friday.
No, that does alliterate though. You're on the right track. If it's not, if it doesn't alliterate, it doesn't go.
And then I don't know if you put a bid on it, but Freddie Freeman's walk-off grand slam ball sells for more than $1.5 million.
Unbelievable.
But you know what?
That's perceived
is
value
still-
there
this-
going out of control.
This is still a bargain compared to the $6.5 million a Bitcoin guy paid for a banana taped to a wall with duct tape. This guy got a deal. Like you could probably resell this ball for more in the future, just because
And
that's how
someone could
things work.
switch it out for another ball and you wouldn't know.
But the Bitcoin guy that bought the banana off the wall took the tape off and ate the banana.
He must have had money to burn that guy.
Well, he had Bitcoin.
Wow.
And we're going to talk about Bitcoin near the end here. And we're actually coming on to markets. There you go. So gold. We've been talking about this quite a bit. There's our, let me just move out of the way here. Gold continues to chop a little bit up today, but chopping in just under the $2,700 mark. That chart does look like it wants to go up. So that's a year-to-date chart there.
Okay, we're at that little peak right beside your right ear. When did it hit the top?
Yeah, so that's the November election. So when Trump got elected, gold fell because gold was trending up. You can see gold trending up, and then Trump gets elected, which lights the U.S. dollar on an upward trajectory.
Which
so that
relatively brings gold down.
right. So if money moves into the U.S. dollar, obviously that's going to take money out of the gold markets, right?
Right.
But China's back in buying, so that's what's kind of supported it because it looked like it was going to fall further. But China back in there buying, and then throughout the world there's geopolitical instability with like Syria falling. Israel war still going on, the Ukraine war still going on, and like we're seeing governments like even now the German government falling, and France's vote of no confidence. So there is a lot of political instability out there still. So I mean that is
Okay, so when there's political instability in other large economies around the world, people go and they head to the U.S. dollar. Is that what's happening?
gold in the U.S. dollar, right? So, but the Chinese and Russians favoring the gold versus USD because of the weaponization of the U.S. dollar back
Right.
with the Ukraine war. So that's where gold really got its legs, and you can see that. We pull a chart up that's even further when that Ukraine war started. Gold really started that uptrend. Bitcoin, like literally on fire there. Broke $106,000, 106,448 on the weekend. And again, we take a look at there where that peak there just under my shoulder there. That's November 5th again. Donald Trump wins the election. Donald Trump's administration talking about a favorable environment for gold, and his new SEC pick also very favorable for gold versus Gary Gensler, who was very anti-Bitcoin. So the environment for Bitcoin very, very favorable going forward.
I just can't do the Bitcoin thing. I can see people making money on it, but it just
Well, even our mayor in Vancouver is wants to make Vancouver the Bitcoin hub of Canada.
in other words, open up the opportunity for people to just spend their Bitcoin at every
Yeah, so he wants to have all
coffee
stores
shop
and
in
that
town.
kind of do Bitcoin thing. Remember way back when Pierre Poilievre was running for the conservative leadership, and he was at a shawarma kind of like restaurant,
Right?
and he paid with Bitcoin, and then he was talking about how Bitcoin is financial freedom, and then of course Bitcoin there was that FTX scandal, and Bitcoin fell into a crater, and it
Hmm.
fell down huge, and then Justin Trudeau used that against him in many House of Commons retorts, saying that if you listen to Pierre Poilievre and Bitcoin, you would be broke, and
Yeah. Well, it has
I don't know
been
why they're not replaying that now.
it has been volatile. I mean, there's plenty of opportunities to lose money on Bitcoin. Every one of
Yeah,
those times.
because I think at that time it went from 60 to 30, right?
Yeah.
So it looked like a really bad idea, but again, it had huge headwinds back then, and a lot of those headwinds, if the United States is one of the strongest, well, they are the strongest country in the world, and if they have strong backing for Bitcoin, it definitely is going to change its trajectory.
But these cryptocurrencies, for instance, there's the Elon Musk one, the Dogecoin,
Right.
that he started as a joke. Am I right? And now, and now, see, and the DOGE is the same as his new
He
position in
likes
government.
playing word games.
It all
for
lines
sure.
up. I'm just thinking, for those reasons alone, people are going to go, yay, Dogecoin, and you probably make money on it, even though it is
Yeah,
in its
I
inception.
mean it's
A
two
joke.
different things for sure. Bitcoin is a lot of there's ETFs on it now. It does trade on the stock exchange and all that kind of stuff.
But it was still born out of mystery. Like, who was this
Correct,
guy?
but Doge is not in the same league as that
Oh,
for sure.
clearly
It's
not.
completely not.
But
Yeah,
all I'm saying is you could just as easily make money buying Dogecoin for whatever it is, how many,
yeah.
cents.
I would recommend you talk to a financial advisor before you buy any of it to understand it. We had a Bitcoin show, and we'll probably start it up again. Bitcoin is if they add it as a reserve asset in the U.S. Reserves, it would be a big deal for Bitcoin. The thing that is a headwind right now for Bitcoin, I think the only headwind I see is Google launched its new AI chip Willow that says it's going to be able to break the Bitcoin securities. So if that's the case, and it can get into Bitcoin wallets, that would be like not very good for Bitcoin.
No.
Anyway, and here's one that's looking sadder and sadder every day. We move over there. The Canadian dollar. So it's interesting to see how that plays out today. I don't know who's going to read it. Who's going to read the budget today? Is it Justin Trudeau himself
It's
going to
not
read it?
this is the fall.
Yeah, update. Sorry, the update.
Yeah.
So who's going to read it though?
Or will it be read?
I
Do they have
can't
to?
see how they can't read it. I just because everybody's waiting for it. Like, will Mark Carney step in and read it? That would be kind
Well,
of
you're
like
supposed to
a
get up
real
in the morning and just read it? You've got to, don't
because it's still Freeland's budget, I think, or her update, right?
Well, maybe it wasn't going to be. Who knows? She's out. I don't know what happens.
What a mess! Literally a
And,
mess.
and seeing the sad trajectory of the Canadian dollar, I mean, is that not also, and for the various reasons previously discussed, just the mirror opposite of the US dollar? If it's shooting up, then of course other currencies look like they're going down when really,
There's big headwinds for the Canadian dollar right now, for sure. The deficit, shrinking GDP, high unemployment. Like most of our, if we put an economic indicator up, like all a dashboard,
yeah,
like we do in some companies, you do a dashboard, most of the lights will be flashing red right now. Record food bank usage, uh, immigration that's too high. All these things would put Canada in a bad spot and would make us look pretty
could
weak
part
right
of it
now.
also be fear of this possibility of
Tariffs,
massive tariffs coming
yeah.
down?
Tariffs
So,
not helping.
no.
No, but dollar already. If you look at the chart, the dollar's already trending down way before the tariff thing came into play.
Right.
This as a trader, this chart looks very very sick.
Right. But,
For the past 6 months, economists, Royal Bank, and stuff like that have been calling for in the 60 cent range. So this is not unusual. Like construction in Canada down to 30-year lows. Lots of really bad indicators for the economy in Canada.
yes.
The capital gains thing, the inclusion is going to drive capital to the south. And then, like the favorable treatment of capital, we're going to talk about it right now. Look at the favorable treatment of capital. Uh, the Trump administration saying they're going to lower the tax rate for corporations to 15%. And if anybody brings $1 billion to invest in the United States, they're going to get fast tracked with approvals and all that. So it's looking like the America is setting itself up to be the technology hub of the world. They've got some big minds in there working with that. And here's SoftBank stepping up. They announced they're going to put $100 billion of U.S. investment with the Trump administration to create 100,000 jobs. So there's the first big announcement. $100 billion from SoftBank. That should come to Canada if we had a better environment, right? Like some of it, I mean, even a few shekels.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Elon Musk. AI, this is our AI segment.
So much bad news, you know?
Well, maybe there's some good news happening today. There's a couple of resignations. Maybe we'll get another one. And then maybe we can turn the ship around. Elon Musk. Grok is in our AI segment. Grok is now free for everybody. If you have an X account, it used to be only the premium members that got Grok. So Grok is X's answer to ChatGPT, which you use ChatGPT.
Yes.
I use ChatGPT. I try to use both. Grok seems to create images better than ChatGPT. Like they'll create an image of anything, whereas
Yeah, I haven't done
ChatGPT is
any of
very.
this image creation. I just, get questions answered.
You have arguments with it, right?
Sometimes.
Did you ever win?
No.
More on Elon Musk. He's somebody like this is the thing about Elon Musk. Somebody will suggest something, and he'll say, "Sure." So somebody's putting out there just like, "What about Xmail instead of like having Gmail in it?" He's like, "Sure." So it sounds like we might get Xmail.
Why do I need another mail carrier?
No idea. I'm just saying.
I know. I know you really like Elon. I'm not going to burst your bubble on that. Not on my first day on the big show.
The really big show, and
Okay, what about
here's some really big show in our EV section. The Seagull is flying in China. It's
Right,
flying,
okay.
literally flying out the door.
right? And when we discussed this, you said I can get one of these. What's the other Seagull or the BYD?
Well, CYD, Seagull is a BYD. So BYD is the
Right.
company. I think they make about
Oh,
50
I can
different
get one,
brands.
but I can't bring it here.
Well, Canada announced 100% tariffs on Chinese cars, but there's none here yet, right? So
Okay, so if I buy it for $10,000 in overseas, and I pay 100% tariff, it's now $20,000.
I'm not sure if
Right? Can I
U.S.
do that?
U.S.
Then I got to get it here.
Yeah.
Probably maybe cost me another $10,000. So now for $30,000, I've got myself a
Low-end
very
EV.
cheaply built
Yeah.
electric.
But in China, they are now outselling every car in China. This Seagull,
Mhm.
even the gas cars. But in China, the adoption rate on EVs is over 50%. So EVs are the big seller in China, and they're making it really hard to even license a gas car in China.
They're
When you go to register one, it's really hard to get registration done for a gas car.
they deliberately put impediments in the way for people.
So EVs they're pushing EVs a lot, right? Because I mean, a lot of the big the big cities in China have huge pollution problems, right? Never mind the carbon stuff, just the pollution. You can't breathe, right? If you've been to LA too, right?
Yeah,
And you're just like, is it cloudy out? And they're just like, no, that's just smog,
it's just the smog.
right? So that in itself, like there's some cities in China right now that are almost 100% EV, and it's so quiet. You can't hear the cars going around, right?
Hang on. You just said there's cities where it's close to 100.
Yeah, just in the city centers, 100% EVs in the city, and it's so quiet. Like you can go on YouTube and you can find these things.
What would be the overall uptake on electric cars?
Over
China?
50, so I think it's like 55% all new car sales are
Over
EVs.
50% being sold today.
Yeah.
But then you got all the old gas cars
Yeah.
still out there. Boy, when we set any targets in this country, people freak out.
I think they did. So
They feel they're being,
the big thing,
mandated.
the big difference with China though is there's like 100 EV makers. They're really like helping, and they're subsidizing instead of like punishment. They're subsidizing these EV makers, and that's been the argument. That's why they want tariffs on it. They're saying a lot of these EVs are being subsidized by the government. That's how they can make them so cheap. Australia is getting 63 different EVs in 2025. 63 different EVs will hit the shores of Australia this year.
63 new choices of
Yeah.
electric cars that weren't there.
Including
up to now.
Teslas and including a lot of BYDs, lots of XPeng and all these other kind of makers, and including some of the legacy people, you know what I mean? Like, but legacy having a really tough time in China selling what they used to sell, the BMWs, the General Motors and all that kind of stuff, having a real tough time. And it sounds like Volkswagen looking to close a bunch of plants in Germany, big strikes and stuff like that. Just the legacy automakers, kind of a mess in Europe for sure, and in China.
Yeah.
Big mess. We have the good news segment on the show.
Oh, we do.
We have the
I
good
need
news
that.
segment.
Well, yeah, the EV thing wasn't so sad. And
The
now
EV thing?
the EV
Oh,
thing,
the EV thing.
that was we're already picking it up there. And then and now cheer me
What's
up.
the good news? Well, Big White's got new snow on the mountain, and they have a big base already. And yeah, it's great. So ski season is in full swing.
That
you
looks
love-
nice. That looks really nice there.
You love to ski. And the other big news is the 2024 CPKC Holiday Train will roll through the BC interior this week. Doesn't come to Kelowna because we got no tracks, but it does come to some of the communities around us. You can go on kelowna.com to find out where the CPKC Holiday Train rolls through. And we did have the big parade.
Cameras. Hmm?
Yeah, Thames. We did have the big parade here this weekend. The first time ever. The Kettle Valley, it used to be the Kettle Valley Parade for a Cause, I think
Yes.
it's called. And it rolled through downtown.
Did you attend that?
I didn't, but Nick, my son, live streamed it. You can
Yes.
find that on Kelowna Now, and he did a really good job. And they had two announcers, almost like Macy's. You know what I mean? They
Yeah.
have the two people announcing Macy's, and they announced every float. So if you go on kelowna.com, you can find the live stream, and the two people from Parade with a Cause, basically talking about each float.
I
And
couldn't talk the group I was with into going down, on a cold evening and standing
I
on
just
the
got
street.
some feedback
Couldn't get
that
him to
says
do
that
it.
every time you pound on the desk, it's really hard on people's ears.
Really? But I couldn't get the people I was with convinced that it would be a good idea to go downtown. But people who saw, what did it look like? Was it 40 floats? That's pretty.
You know what was in one of the floats? Being pulled? A Cybertruck. And Cybertrucks are in parades all across Canada and the United States. There's one in, I think, somewhere in Ontario that had 11 Cybertrucks pulling floats. So the Cybertruck is like the vehicle of choice for pulling.
Is it okay that I offer my opinion on this show? And you got to turn off your dingy dinger over there, okay? But Cybertrucks look so stupid.
Wow. Look at this, eh?
I mean,
Says the guy that drives a Tesla.
It looks like somebody is shipping a dishwasher down the road. I don't.
I think you need to drive one before you continue with that.
No, I'm
but
not
hey,
saying they might be great inside. I'm just
Yeah.
saying they really look dumb.
they look exactly like your car inside almost. Because Kent
Yeah.
drives a Tesla. So he's one of the reluctant drivers. He likes the car, but not the.
The Cybertruck looks like it was designed and named by an 11-year-old boy.
Well, we know that Elon likes to do different names. The whole lineup for Tesla is sexy. S3XY.
Oh, boy. That's it. I'm going to invest in Dogecoin because people like that.
And then they've added actually Smart Summon. You figure out that an acronym. That's it. So that's our first show. Kent's going to be with us till Thursday.
Are you
And
sure?
then we've got a guest host coming in. And then we're going to miss the week following,
I
the
didn't
Christmas
say I was going to
week.
be here all week. Did we
Well, you
negotiate
did
that?
such a good job. Like, hey. And then he's going to bring some of his own stories tomorrow, too. Um, and then I have a guest coming in on Friday. And then we're going to be off the week. And Kent's going to be off as well into the new year. So we're going to be off for the Christmas week. And then we'll be back at it with Ian Burns the following week.
Yeah. The voice of Ian Burns. Well, yeah.
The voice, he doesn't like to show himself. He's kind of like, remember Tim the Tool Man?
Mm-hmm.
When the guy, the neighbor, you never
Right.
saw his face? Yeah, that's Ian.
Right.
So keep people guessing, right? So on the Really Big Show. There you go. That's the Really Big Show. It's going to be interesting to see what happens in Parliament today when they read that
Yeah.
update and we get 2 more resignations, maybe more.
What?
There's a lot of talk out there that says Justin Trudeau may resign too. I don't know.
Wow. I have no idea how this is.
I don't know if there's betting odds because there was betting odds for if Trump or Kamala Harris was winning the election on BC lotteries, and there was odds there on betting on what song Taylor Swift would sing first, and if she would visit Capilano Bridge, and a bunch of these things. There was a whole bunch of betting things. So right now, like, is there odds out there for whether or not Justin Trudeau lasts the week?
Okay, this is not an area where my ideas are worth listening to because I'm not a pundit of federal politics. But I kind of thought that Chrystia Freeland looked like a person who might want to replace Justin Trudeau.
Well, maybe that's why she stepped down. Maybe she
Could
wants
this
that. Maybe
be
she had to
a
start taking
route
a
to
run
that?
at it.
But yet, does she want to become the next Kim Campbell? Okay, you're in charge right before the
I don't think
dreadful
anybody wants
election.
that. But I think
Who wants to get behind the wheel of a bus that is heading off the cliff?
in her letter, though, she alludes to that they're not going to be the next government. Like, I mean, she
Yeah.
basically makes that. I mean,
Right.
it's pretty obvious, unless like in hockey teams and they're really strong. It's definitely Poilievre's to lose at this point.
Yeah.
But Justin Trudeau can't seem to do anything right. This latest gimmick, and she called it. I've been calling it a gimmick for a while. This GST thing. She called it out herself, and she was the one that was out there promoting it. Obviously not because she wanted to. Sounds like she was forced to promote it, and she thought it
Clearly
was
a gimmick.
nonsensical.
But
as
of
well.
course, so is the idea that you can solve everything with common sense.
There you go. And there you go. This is almost like Coach's Corner, Don Cherry over here.
All right.
And that's it. That's a wrap for today on the Really Big Show. And from myself, Jim Check, and Kent Mulgat, we thank you for watching Kelowna. Don't forget to subscribe to our newsletter. Hit the subscribe button to this as well, YouTube. And what do they say? Tap that bell.
Yeah.
There you go.
I actually enjoyed this. Thanks for having me.
Ring the bell. And we do one last thing. We do have the mayor coming in. I think it's on Wednesday. So if you have any questions for the mayor, you can send them ahead of time, and we'll ask the mayor, Tom Dias, when he's in. Thank you for watching Kelowna Now.
We don't just report the news. We live here too. We're your neighbors, bringing you stories that matter to all of us. No government funding, no outside influence. Kelowna Now, local, independent. News you can trust.